Hello and welcome back to the Shibaroo Studios YouTube channel. My name is Jonathan and this is the Art Journal. So if you're new around here, this is our once weekly get together where we sit down and have a little bit of a chat. And this week, the two things that I mostly want to talk about is, first of all, I want to talk about the two illustrations that I produced and uploaded onto my Instagram this week. And then stick around at the end of the video. We're going to sit down and talk about all the plans that I have for myself, for my art, and for the channel for the rest of the year. So the two illustrations that I uploaded this week were my first two illustrations of 2023. They were a little bit different than everything I was producing in December because a lot of the focus there was on Christmas and, you know, all the sort of Christmas imagery and themes. This week, what I wanted to do is base a lot of my work on the city of Armagh, where I'm from. A lot of my work going forward at the moment is going to be centered around that. And I'll explain a little bit more about why that is towards the end of this video. But the first piece that I produced was this piece based on the Armagh Rhymers, which, if you're not from Armagh or if you don't know about the Armagh Rhymers, they are a famous folk music band, as well as they do a lot of different things. But what I like about them is they obviously wear these very theatrical outfits. They have the large wicker masks that they would wear during their performances. And I just thought that the aesthetic that they have was so interesting and so unique. And it was definitely something that I was just itching to illustrate and draw. I think, you know, the costumes have so much character to them, and in the illustration that I've produced, I drew them on a slight grassy hill. The idea is it was just to be a representation of the Navan Fort here in Armagh, which is a famous historical site, and somewhere where the Rhymers would be often putting on different shows and celebrating stuff like the summer and winter solstices with some of their performances. So I tried to get these characters, and I really wanted to focus a lot on the textures of the images. If you see closer to the actual mask that they're wearing, I worked a lot with trying to get the idea of that woven wicker basket texture in it. I think it turned out very, very well. I was really, really happy with the illustrations and how they turned out. I would actually say that from everything that I've produced since I started the Shibaroo Studios Instagram page, this is by far and away my favorite piece that I've produced. I think it's fun. I just love the visuals. And I was really happy with how I was able to translate what is an already unique aesthetic that the Armagh Rhymers have into my style of illustration. So I was extremely happy with this piece. Following on from there, I wanted to take one of Armagh's most famous, probably the most famous landmark here in Armagh, which is St. Patrick's Roman Catholic Cathedral. It's, you know, this is a building where if you're from Armagh, you know all about it. You can almost see the spires from just about anywhere in the city. But for me personally, growing up where I did, I could have looked out my bedroom window and seen the spires and the cathedral and the building itself. I went to school quite close to it, so every day I would have been walking past it. And it's an incredible piece of architecture, and it's definitely something that I wanted to capture in my artwork. There was a lot of differences with the cathedral piece compared to the Armagh Rhymers piece, because obviously in one I'm drawing people and characters, in this one you're focusing on architecture, and you definitely have to take two very different approaches to how you go about it. I feel that characters like the Armagh Rhymers piece, it's much easier for me to put my style into it. When it comes to drawing buildings, it's something I still find a little bit challenging. You know, I can sit there and recreate the building as it is, but what I want to do is get my character into it, my style into it, and put my own stamp on it. And that's something that I was just trying to figure out. How do I do this? How do I make this not just, you know, a complete carbon copy of what the building is? So I tried to be selective with the details that I included and the ways that I included the details. For example, in the actual stained glass windows that you see, I tried to be quite, you know, loose with the actual detailing that goes into them. I tried to make that a little bit more in that kind of children's book style that I'm trying to accomplish with all of my pieces. And I think one of the things that really made the image more in my style was the fact that the building itself has these statues that sit out the front of the building on plinths. And so I just thought I could do the actual statues in my own illustration style. It would help me to put a little bit of my own stamp and a little bit of my own personality into it. But, when I look at the final piece, I think it's not quite where I would want it to be in terms of having my own visual style on it. So in terms of buildings and architecture, I think that's definitely an area that I want to continue working on. I want to continue figuring out how can I make these buildings look more like the children's book style. And I don't think I'm a million miles away from it. Like, I don't look at the cathedral piece and think, oh, it looks like some other artist produced it. Like, I definitely think side by side with all my other works, there is a continuity in terms of the visual style of it, but I just think I can work and refine on it a little bit more. But that's part of the process. You're always refining, and you expect your art and your ability to grow as you go along. Even just in the past month, when I look at the first pieces that I produced up until the most recent ones, in that short space of time, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more of a hang of the program that I use, Procreate, and just refining my style and developing certain techniques to get the visual style that I have in my head onto the screen. So, we're moving in the right direction, and obviously we're going to keep doing that. And I would love to, get to the end of the year and produce another picture of the cathedral and see a comparison of how my style's developed in the next year, which that's quite a lovely little segue into what I plan to do for the next 12 months. So before I try to kick off everything that I'm doing here with the illustration and the Instagram page and the YouTube channel, I think the first thing I had to sit down with myself and ask, what is it that I'm trying to do here? Do I see myself getting back into art and pursuing it purely as a hobby and doing it recreationally? Or do I see this as something that I could turn into a career? And right away, I knew the answer was no, I wanted to pursue this as a career. So the next thing I had to do was sit down, try and watch other artists across platforms like YouTube who have established their own illustration business and who are working in the industry, get a little bit of information from them, and then try and think about what kind of path I could take specifically for me and what I want to achieve. And so what I did was I tried to think about certain things that I would like to do with my art. And there were a couple of ideas that instantly came to my mind. The first thing that came into my head was the Armagh Craft Fair, which, as the name suggests, is a craft fair that takes place here in Armagh. It's an annual event. And I actually seen an advertisement for 2023's craft fair, which I believe is happening in May. So I've already been in touch with the people who organize the submissions. I haven't been given a definite date for the submission process. I was told that it would be in and around late January, early February. So that's why a lot of my art at the moment is focused quite locally on Armagh. But I just remember thinking that's something I would absolutely love to do. Like, that's to go and take my place or my artwork into a marketplace and to bring it to the public in that way is something that, I would absolutely love to do this. So I'm trying to focus my efforts at the moment into building up enough of a catalogue of work and enough of a portfolio of work so that I will have this to submit and hopefully, if all goes well, get a place at the Armagh Craft Fair. Another area that I would like to kind of pursue in the coming 12 months is to produce a children's book. Obviously, you look at my art and the particular aesthetic that it has, and I think that going into the area of producing a children's book is a logical next step because it already has that aesthetic. And that is by choice. That's the kind of art that really appeals to me, and it's something that, as a practicing artist, I get so much joy and so much fun in producing this particular type of imagery. But a big inspiration for me wanting to move into that particular avenue is there's a local illustrator here in Armagh called Willie Nugent. And I remember reading an article on Armagh Eye way before I ever started up Shibaroo Studios, which talked about this guy, Willie Nugent, and how every Christmas he would produce a children's book and sell it locally for, you know, £5, and all of the money from those sales would be donated to worthy causes. And I just thought that this is such an amazing idea. And for me, like, a lot of my inspiration, particularly with the illustrations I've done this week, are drawn from this city. And I'm getting so much from the city, and the idea of taking that art and then giving something back, you know, it's just the perfect way to kind of repay everything that you've taken from your own surroundings as you've grown up and the things that have inspired you. So yeah, I would like to take a little bit of time in the next 12 months where I kind of try and get that project moving, and hopefully in the next 12 months we can actually get it out into the world and use that art to really help some people who need it. And lastly, another thing that I know that I want to pursue this year is not just, you know, an avenue that I think I could go down. It's kind of verging more into like a bucket list item for me, something that is a little bit of a dream kind of project, and that would be to have my work exhibited in the Armagh Marketplace Theatre. The Armagh Marketplace Theatre, it's kind of, you know, the artistic centre of the town, and the amount of times over the course of my life that I go and see different exhibitions in the theatre, you know, I can't even count. They always have artists exhibiting their work, and I walk through there so many times and I look at the art that's on the walls and all these incredibly talented people who are putting, you know, their heart and their soul and their art out into the world for people to come and see. And so for me to pursue that and to try and get my work exhibited there is, you know, without a doubt, it is just a dream that I have, and certainly something that I'm going to be looking to pursue as the year goes on. So I think that is all of our catching up for this week. I really hope you've enjoyed our little chat. I certainly have. And there's going to be a lot more content coming out over the following week, as I've mentioned in the vlog that was posted yesterday. I'll put the link down in the description. I am just about to head off to my interview with Armagh very soon, so there'll be a lot of stuff happening in the next week. Make sure then that you're liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting, and checking back again, because lots happening in the next week. And so I look forward to sitting down again in 7 days' time, and we'll have this little chat. Cheerio.